topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Good morning, Tampa. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where we bring you the finest experts in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. I hope everybody had a wonderful new year. I think 2024 is going to be fabulous. I really, truly feel that way. And I was thinking before the show today, because our first show is our wealth management show, that it is so now more than ever is to have an advisor who, first of all, you can truly trust, but most important, that they can explain things to you, that you understand and not talk over your head, and simplify things so much better than many others can. And I was thinking, we are so blessed to have Ray Ferrara with us, Provise Wealth Management. He's been with us for several years, and I get so many letters, people thanking us for Ray, and I'm just so glad, because it's so easy to keep up with Ray's knowledge. He simplifies things, and he's just an all-out good guy. He's been doing this for a long time. Let me welcome you to our expert, Ray Ferrara. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Steve, and Happy New Year. I think we can still do that on the 8th day of January.
Yeah, I know. I'm so glad that maybe this is going to be a better year. And of course, we are going to need you to kind of give us a review of 2023. But before we do that, there are so many new people joining us every week. And tell people about Provise Wealth Management.
Sure. Well, Provise Management Group is a financial planning firm and investment management firm. And I always put the emphasis on the financial planning side, because we see all of the other aspects of money as a subset of the financial plan, whether it's investing, whether it's asset protection, education planning, retirement planning, estate planning. All of those are a subset. We have 14 advisors at Provise. We're serving about 1,200 families scattered over 34 states. So we're not just working with people here in the Tampa Bay area, and managing somewhere around $1.9 billion as of the end of the year. We would love to have the opportunity for anybody who would like to meet us face to face, and we can do that in person or by Zoom, given the new technology we've all learned about through the pandemic. We always offer a 1-hour complimentary consultation, just for us to get to know each other and to see if you're comfortable with us and whether we think we'll be able to help you. So love to have any of our listeners join us for that 1-hour free consultation.
Ray, I got to tell you, one of the things that really impresses me about your firm is you've got clients in 34 different states. That means the clients that you have on a local basis have told others about Provise. That's the way you get clients in so many different states. So I think that's probably one of the best things about Provise Wealth Management is the type of referrals you get.
Well, we're very fortunate that our clients are our best advocates for others to join us. We also get a significant amount of referrals that come to us from other professionals, CPAs, attorneys, etc. And so we're blessed. And considering that when I started the firm back in 1986, I thought it would be me and maybe one or two associates. Today, we're a firm of 31 people. And where I thought at one time managing $100 million would be a good idea, today we're at $1.8, $1.9 billion. Folks should know that we're accepting all types of clients. A lot of people think, oh, I don't have enough money. Well, I can assure you that there's a lot of people who have more than enough money who still don't think they have enough money to be our clients. And that's simply not the case. And so we welcome all to our firm, and we grow it one person, one client at a time.
Ray, I got to tell you, this first question I have for you could take up probably the whole show. Let's do a review of 2023. And it sure didn't turn out like many thought it would. Tell me your thoughts on 2023.
Wow, you're right. We could take a long time on that one, Steve, but I'll try to boil it down to maybe 3 or 4 really salient points. And the first thing I think we have to do is just turn the clock back to a year ago. And what was everybody saying at that time? Most people believed that we would have a recession in 2023, and that as a result, the stock market would decline in value. Provise's position a year ago was that we did not feel there would be a recession in 2023, and if one did occur, that it would occur in 2024 and would be relatively brief and shallow. So we were right that it didn't occur in 23. We were wrong in that, like most others, we thought it would be a very choppy market. But what really happened is there were 7 or 8 stocks, all technology oriented, many of them with an artificial intelligence story wrapped around them, who just went through the charts. And so we saw the NASDAQ index up over 40%. We saw the S&P 500 up about 24%. The Dow was up about 15%. And so that surprised all of us, including us. And the lesson to take away from this is to stay with the market. It's the time that you're in the market, not the time you're out of the market, that makes a difference. And for those people who last year at this time said, well, if there's going to be a recession, I'm going to pull my money out, regardless of how they would have been invested this past year, they lost out. Sure, they may have gotten some good returns in their money market funds, but nothing that compared to the equity market. So one of the stories from 2023 is not everybody participated in it because some people pulled out of the market. And as you and I have talked about on numerous occasions, we do not believe in timing the market. We believe staying invested with a well-diversified portfolio that over time, although sometimes boring and sometimes not overwhelmingly successful, over time, it's been the proven strategy that has worked. The other story for 23 obviously had to do with the Federal Reserve as they continued to raise interest rates and then to begin to pause. And at this point, we would say that as we did on a show a couple of months ago, said that we felt the interest rates were likely over, and we think they're almost definitely over at this point, as it has slowed inflation down from what was 9% almost 2 years ago to something that's just over 3% today, but still well above the Fed's target of 2% year over year. So that was kind of our 23. I mean, we could talk about the problems with Social Security. We could talk about the problems with Congress. We could talk about all kinds of different things, but those are some kind of the highlights from 23 and one or two lessons learned, hopefully, for most investors.
Well, we've got to follow up from 2023 to having you get your crystal ball out. And what should we expect for 2024?
Well, Steve, I've been doing this for a long time, 5 decades worth. And at this point, my crystal ball is cracked and foggy. I try to remind myself that, the famous Yogi Berra saying, it would be easy to predict the future if it wasn't about the future. And that's kind of paraphrasing his expression. So we have to always be careful. At this point, let's first pick up on the recession talk. At this point, I don't think a recession is off the table, but the table has gotten a lot smaller than it was this time a year ago. There is still a possibility, a very small possibility, of a mild and brief recession before this year is out. But if it occurs, it's going to be something that when we look back at the charts over the years, that probably is not going to be anything more than just a little blip on the chart. So that's kind of number one. I already talked about interest rates. We think they're done. We do not think that interest rates are going down during the first half of the year. In fact, we hope they don't go down during the first half of the year for 2 reasons. And I know some people may say, what? You don't want interest rates to go down? Well, first of all, if interest rates are going to be going down early in the year, that's not necessarily an indication that we've beaten inflation, but it is an indication that the economy has begun to weaken and the Federal Reserve has decided to back off. So we think any decline in interest rates during the first 6-7 months of the year would be an indication that the economy has gotten too weak, too fast, and the Federal Reserve is now trying to stimulate it. And we don't think that's good. The second problem is that if the Fed is too early in reducing interest rates, as opposed to what they definitely were too late in raising them, and inflation reared its ugly head again, that would be devastating and would probably cause interest rates to go even higher than they are today. So foggy crystal ball says we see 2, maybe 3 rate cuts later in the year are likely. We're not on board with 6. We're not on board with 4. We think 2 for sure. 3 is a possibility. As for the stock market, we've already seen in the early part of this year, the first 5 trading days, including today, the early indication is the market will be down again. That there seems to have been a lot of profit taking that has taken place early this year. People who had lots of big gains from last year, who didn't want to take those gains in December and then pay taxes on them this April, they could wait until the first of the year, cash out of some of those positions, and not have to pay the tax until April of 2025. So we think the early action in the market is really a little bit of a hangover from the excellent year that the market seemed to have enjoyed last year. When the year is all said and done, and it is a presidential election year, and presidential election years are full of hope and promise, promises that often don't come true, but hope springs eternal. As I've always said, that after an election is over, there's a little bit of euphoria in America because at least 50% of the people are happy with the result. And sometimes it's not much more than 50%, but we have honest and fair elections, hopefully, and hopefully we will do so again this year. The political spectrum is going to be a very interesting one that will have effects on the market throughout the year. So expect a lot of volatility on the words of our politicians, et cetera. And so again, this is going to be, we believe, a stock picker's year. The market may not do very well, but picking the right stocks should make your portfolio be positive during the coming year. And so we're encouraged, not going to be like last year. Don't expect 40% in the NASDAQ. Don't expect 24% in the S&P. Don't expect another 15% from the Dow, but it should be a positive year by the time it's all said and done.
So basically you're saying don't panic.
The worst thing you can do, unfortunately, is to listen to the talking heads that exist on TV or the writers that have to fill the pages up in magazines and in newspapers about, the sky is falling. Yes, there are times to be like Chicken Little, but the fact is that, as I've described it for you and the listeners many times, the stock market is like a man walking up a flight of stairs with a yo-yo. We all have a tendency to watch the yo-yo go up and down and up and down and up and down, and we lose sight of the fact that the man is walking up a flight of stairs. And so until you lose faith in the American free enterprise system, we have to suffer through some difficult times in order to have the great times that we have enjoyed in the past. And we expect that we'll continue to enjoy into the future.
So what steps should investors be thinking about with this being the beginning of the year?
Steve, thank you for that question. The first thing is that if you have not rebalanced your portfolio after last year, now's a good time to do that. We just talked about any capital gains that you happen to take. You won't have to pay the taxes on them for about 15 months. So go ahead and take those and rebalance your portfolio. Sell some of the things that went up, buy some of the things that didn't go up as much or may have actually gone down, so that you're rebalancing your portfolio. And by doing that, you're selling the things that went up, meaning you're selling high, and you're reinvesting into the things that didn't do as well, which means you're buying low. Now, that's a very novel concept for a lot of people. Sell high, buy low. Well, sometimes we have a tendency to do just the opposite. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is if you're participating in any type of retirement plan, all of the numbers for the retirement plans went up this year. So if you've been putting in the maximum, you need to readjust your contributions through your employer so that you can invest the maximum in the current year. If you're not doing the maximum, then at least increase it by 5-10% over what you did last year. Save more, invest wisely, and over time, it should help lead to a more comfortable retirement than if you had not invested diligently during your working years. Third thing is boring, terrible. Nobody likes to do it, but look at your expenses from last year. Did you really need to spend some of the money that you spent? Sure, we all have to have a good time and we have to do things, but we all also have what I refer to as creepers, and those are things that just kind of creep into our life. You go out to dinner with your spouse or your significant other, and instead of getting a $30 bottle of wine, you decide to treat yourself with a $100 bottle of wine. do that a few times over the course of a year, and you're surprised at, gosh, where did all that money go? Well, those creepers showed up and took away some of your cash flow. So look at your budget, determine what your fixed expenses are first, those things that you absolutely have to have and expect to pay for every month. And then look at those variable costs and see if there's opportunities there to cut back without cutting back on your lifestyle. So budgeting, take advantage of capital gains and rebalancing your portfolio. Those are the, let's say, 3 simple things for you to be looking at right here at the beginning of the year.
Ray, we've got about 4 minutes left. This weekend, Congress said they came to a deal on the budget and that's going to avoid a government shutdown. Do you really think this deal is going to stick?
I'm not as optimistic as all of the politicians were this weekend on the talk shows yesterday or what they're saying this morning. Yes, the leadership in both the House and the Senate have come to an agreement to spend no more than $1.66 trillion in the coming year. And 2 things we have to be thinking about. The first is while that's a very broad overview, they haven't decided how that's going to be spent, other than probably half of it will be in defense budget and the other half for domestic programs, et cetera. And so there'll be a lot of wrangling that's going to occur as they try to define who's getting how much money, when, where, and how. But more importantly, in the face of where we are at the moment, given that the slim majority that the Republicans have in Congress is even slimmer than it was 3 or 4 months ago, 2 votes, 3 votes tops would keep anything from being passed, except if Republicans join Democrats in coming up with a solution. Now, we saw that once before, Steve, and that caused to the ouster of Kevin McCarthy as the Speaker of the House when he did the honorable thing and the courageous thing to bring together enough moderate Republicans to vote with the Democrats to keep us from shutting down the government back in the late summer and early fall. I really feel that there is a group in Congress that just is going to raise their head and make life absolutely miserable for us. And so I am not ruling out a government shutdown either at the January date or the February date. At best, I think it's 50-50. At worst, it could be 75-25 for a shutdown.
Interesting. Ray, I got to tell you, your shows always go by so fast, and people can go back to iHeart, their library, and find any of your past shows. Give everybody your phone number and your website. Sure.
The website is easy. It's provise.com, provise.com. Lots that you can learn about us. Our telephone number, 727-441-9022, scrolling across right now as we say it. We have offices in Clearwater and Tampa. And again, let me repeat that we offer everyone a 1-hour complimentary consultation in our offices or by Zoom, your choice. So if you're outside of the Tampa Bay area, happy to do it by Zoom. And for you to give a chance to know us and for us to get a chance to know you. And so we welcome all of those folks. And as you say, time seems to fly when you and I are together.
Yes.
But I always hope that we've been able to impart a few words that will help others, whether they reach out to us or not.
Hey, Ray will be back with us in 2 weeks. This not next Monday, but Monday after that. Please join us in. Ray, have a wonderful week. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Steve. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. That's Ray Ferrara, Provise Wealth Management. He's been with us for several years, just a world of knowledge when it comes to financial. We're going to go to break now. When we come back, we are going to do our personal injury show. We'll be right back.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And we are back. This is the Ask the Expert show. We're with you every Monday at 9 to about 9:50. And we bring you the top experts here in the United States and mainly here in Tampa. We have one of the top personal injury law firms will be joining us in just a minute. And we are just so, I guess the only word I can think of is blessed, because this is one of the finest personal injury firms here in the state of Florida. And it's amazing. My fiance had a wreck this weekend, and it really brought home as to, I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. She was rear-ended. She was stopped at a red light. And when the guy who rear-ended her got out of the car, he said, "I didn't know you were stopped." Well, they were sitting at a red light. Cars weren't moving. She wasn't moving. And you really have to be careful when you are even in a minor accident. So we're going to bring Lauren on.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Lauren. How are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. It seems your fiance's not starting out too happy.
Yes, it's really amazing because we're in about 14 cities. And I thought about you and Angela, when my fiance was rear-ended this week. And I got to tell you, it made me think there's so many small details that you never think about, that having an attorney like yourself who's experienced in this, because she was at a red light, sitting at a red light, the guy rear ends her, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "I didn't know you were stopped." The story's changed, Lauren, so many times.
I believe it.
And people who've never, and she's never been in an accident before. So, I like that we could spend part of the show talking about auto accidents, because it happens so frequently. And especially if you've never been in one, you don't even know what to do.
Sure. So take your fiance's case, for example. She's sitting at a red light, hit in the rear. She stopped, clearly stopped. Florida has a presumption that the person that strikes you in the rear is at fault. It's what we call a rebuttable presumption, because if they can show that you were traveling down I-75, let's say at 70 miles an hour, and out of the blue, you just stop your vehicle for a sudden and unexpected stop. There wasn't anything in the road. There wasn't an accident ahead of you. There wasn't somebody cutting you off. You just decided to stop because maybe you dropped something in the front of your car. Well, that would shift the burden of fault from the person that strikes you in the rear to you, who stopped short unexpectedly. It wasn't foreseeable that you were going to come to a stop. So the person behind you wouldn't have been able to anticipate that, even if they were the most careful of drivers. But without something like that, you're at fault if you hit somebody from behind. Clearly, your fiance did nothing wrong. She was stopped at a red light.
Lauren, it was so amazing how his story changed when she said, Look up, there's a camera right there at the red light. There was a camera. And all of a sudden, his story started changing.
Well, to what?
Changing that maybe it was his fault.
Oh,
Now, what first thing we notice is, shouldn't he have gotten a ticket? Because she did call the police. How does that work? Is there a ticket issued there? Or is he mailed a ticket?
there should be a ticket issued, or a notice to appear for traffic court. Uh, he violated Florida statute. He was a careless driver. And if the police were called and they came to the scene, which
They were.
sometimes they won't, if you say nobody's hurt, we don't need an ambulance, and they have a lot of calls on backup, they'll advise you to exchange information, and you could file a report up with Tallahassee. But if they come to the scene, they'll question you, they'll question the other driver, they'll see if there are any witnesses at the scene, they'll take a statement from them, an informal statement from them, get their contact information, and that will all be put on the actual crash report. When you leave the scene, you will get a piece of paper. It's called a driver's exchange of information, which isn't the police report, but has enough information on it that you can actually get started in the claims process for your property damage and any injury claim. It doesn't necessarily say who's at fault, although the person at fault is usually listed as driver number one on on the driver's exchange.
I tell you what, it's amazing. You know, we had some really bad weather here in South Florida. Fort Lauderdale got hit by a tornado this
That's what I
weekend.
heard. We're expecting one here tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I did. I saw a friend of mine is in the Sarasota area, and
Okay.
he said they're expecting some major storms tomorrow. But people just let me give you something else that I had a question about. The driver left. Now, he didn't run away or anything. He left after they traded information. So by time, and you're right, the police take a little while to come out once they hear there's no injuries. Um, but he did not stick around. Do you want to try to convince somebody to stick around till the police get there?
Well, if it's a minor fender bender where, it was a tap or a bump or a push, there's not a lot of visible property damage. You're not really feeling any injuries. You weren't really jostled in the vehicle when the impact happened. And everybody's looking to leave. If you exchange information, that includes taking a picture of the driver's license, of the license plate, of the property damage, of the insurance card. Today we're so lucky that we have the phone with us, and it's so easy to do those things, right? Um,
Yes.
then you can just exchange information and report the claim to the insurance companies. So, but if you're hurt, if it's a bigger collision, if you're not sure if you're hurt because you're kind of shook up, a lot of times something like that happens, and you're out of sorts, then yes, you want to convince them to stay and have the police respond. I will tell you, I've been doing this since 1995, Steve, just a few years. And in 2015, I was personally involved in a four-car collision
Oh my
that
gosh.
someone ran a red light, hit another car. They both spun out into me, caused my car to turn. I was facing oncoming traffic, and then they hit another car. And
Oh
I will
my
tell you
gosh.
that even after doing this for as many years as I've done it, I was shaken at the scene of the accident. I was hurt, but I was also shaken. Like I couldn't think straight initially following the accident. So if you're having any sort of uncertainties, or you're just upset, adrenaline rushes in, right? We get the shakes a little bit, or you're a little confused as to what just happened, to quote my granddaughter, what the what? Uh, then yes, you want to convince them to stay and have the police come and possibly even get checked out physically.
Lauren, you hear about people who are in a minor accident and one of the parties doesn't want to go through the insurance company. They don't want it to appear on their insurance. Can you talk about that as to what could happen to you if you don't go through the insurance companies and you try to handle this yourself?
So the way cars are designed today, Steve, they can take more of an impact up front, but underneath the bumper cushion and the parts underneath the bumper cushion are usually what's more effective, because now the bumpers are designed to go in and come out, right? So you may look at the vehicle and not see a lot of damage, and the other guy says to you, or the other woman says to you, look, I really don't want this to go through my insurance. I can't afford for my rates to be raised. How about I write you a check here now, $500,000, $2,000, and we call it a day. And if that's the case, and they have you, if the other side is really savvy, they'll have you sign even a napkin that says, I release you from any damages for the accident in exchange for whatever it is they paid you. The problem with that is, number one, that would also probably include any injury claims. So if you're feeling okay at the scene and then you wake up the next morning and your neck is kind of jacked to the
Right.
side, you're done. You could treat through your PIP, but you're not going to be able to make a claim for injury against the other party if you sign something that releases them because you settled it at the scene or shortly thereafter. The other thing is that for property damage, it may look okay, and then you take it in for an estimate and they do a breakdown on your vehicle, and there's a lot more damage than you thought there was. The inside of the trunk isn't aligned properly. You can't get it unlocked because you may not be testing the lock at the scene of the accident. There may be scratch marks or indentations underneath the carriage. You may have frame damage. You just don't know. A lot of times clients will go in for an estimate. They'll get an initial estimate. The insurance company will front that money to the collision center. And then they do a breakdown of the vehicle and they discover another $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 worth of damages. And if the insurance company is involved at that point, we can have them supplement the check to the collision center to compensate for the remainder of the damages found. But if you just settle it, for cash or a check at the scene or shortly thereafter, you're done. So I highly advise against that.
Yes, I would say so. What about working? Can they still work if they have a personal injury claim?
So we get asked that question a lot, especially during the initial consultation, because a lot of people are worried about losing their jobs if they don't go into work, especially in today's economy with the prices of things. My favorite saying to all clients, potential, current, or past, is nobody's going to put diapers on your baby for you. So if you physically can work, then by all means go to work. It doesn't do you or your case any good if you can physically work and you just sit home. It makes it look like you're purposely trying to avoid working to increase your potential compensation for a claim. It looks like you're litigious, and you could wind up getting into some serious financial difficulties by not working and waiting till the end of your claim for a potential settlement.
Lauren, once they've retained your firm,
Mhm.
and by the way, so people know you work on a contingency basis, that means they don't have to write a check to you until the account is settled, claim is settled, and you get paid a percentage, which is the percentage is set by the state.
Florida bar.
Yeah, so once they've retained you, do they have to talk to the insurance company to give a statement?
So that depends on whether or not you're talking about the other person's insurance company, the at-fault driver's insurance company, or their insurance company.
Okay.
they do not ever have to give a statement to the at-fault driver's insurance company. And I would say 9 out of 10 times, or 9.5 out of 10 times even, when we get a request for that, I don't grant it. I deny it. Because they have the police report, they have what I'm telling them, my client has told me, and they have their insured statements. And if there's any witnesses, I hand over the witness information early so that the adjuster has everything they need without a statement from my client to accurately and fairly evaluate liability. If it's your insurance company, you have a duty under your contract of insurance with your insurance company to provide them a statement recorded if they request it. It can even be under oath if they show the need for it. So the only thing that we caution is never do that without an attorney present. We are present for every recorded statement. If the client hasn't given one by the time they come to our office, they will never give one without us being there, either on the phone, Zoom, or in person. And we will prepare them for questions to expect during that recorded statement from the adjuster. Because your insurance company does have a right to evaluate if you've been injured, how the accident happened, if it's possible that these injuries were pre-existing versus being caused from the accident. Because under Florida law, we're a no-fault state. So what that means is your insurance company is responsible for paying 80% of your medical bills, usually up to $10,000, for any treatment of injuries you're claiming are related to the accident. So they have a right to determine if it's related to the accident. So that you do have to conform with their request for a recorded statement. But I never allow our clients, Angela and I never allow our clients to do the recorded statement without us being present, because they're sneaky sometimes. Their goal is not to pay, or to pay
Yes.
as little as possible. So they may get you on the phone and go, Steve, my name is Lauren. I'm with Tribity Mutual insurance company, and I'm going to take your statement because you're insured with us, and I'm entitled. So how you doing today, Steve? You doing okay? Yeah, I'm doing okay. Just here to get the statement done. And then, when you go to the doctor a week later and they get the bill, they call you up and say, Steve, why'd you go to the doctor? During our recorded statement, you said you were doing good. What happened? Did something happen between our statement and the time you went to the doctor that caused you to have pain, as opposed to this accident? Because you were doing okay on that day. So that leads me to believe that it's not related to the accident. Therefore, we don't have to pay for it.
Well, I know one of the questions that people do have. First of all, if you're going to have a problem from an auto accident, a health problem, it's going to be pain more than likely. So do they go see their primary care doctor? Do they go to a chiropractor? Do they go to a orthopedic surgeon? What kind of doctor should they first go to?
That's a great question. Normally, instinct would be, assuming you don't have any broken bones, any lacerations that are bleeding, any concussive symptoms that you hit your head and you're foggy and you're getting blurry vision and you have a headache that won't go away. Normal knee-jerk reaction would be, I'm going to go to my doctor, my primary. And that's fine. You can go to your primary. The problem is that most primaries nowadays don't want to see anybody involved in an accident.
Right.
Because they don't want to be bothered billing the car insurance because it's outside of the box, right? Normally, when you go to your primary, you either have a cash pay or your copay for your with your insurance, and they know how to bill that insurance. A lot of them don't know how to bill PIP insurance, no fault insurance, or they don't want to get involved in potential litigation. So they won't see you. If they will see you, that's great to go to them. If they won't, initially we always advise if you're hurt, if you're having pain, go to an urgent care. We normally recommend that over an emergency room unless you have some serious symptoms, because the emergency room charges $4,000 for a CAT scan. And that'll eat up a lot of your no-fault insurance if you do need follow-up physical therapy or doctor's appointments. But if you can't get to an urgent care and you're having symptoms, by all means, if you feel you need to go to the emergency room, go to the emergency room. And then follow up, it really depends on your symptoms, how severe your symptoms are, what your beliefs are in Eastern versus Western medicine type of beliefs, or holistic beliefs. A lot of people don't like treating with MDs. They want to treat with a chiropractor, and that's fine. The problem with chiropractic is it's such a feel good, right? You get
Mhm.
almost instant relief from it, and it's hands on, and it's massaging, and it's TENS unit. And who doesn't love that, right? But you don't you want to continue it, but if you're not getting relief from it that lasts more than a few hours after the service being provided, then it's kind of wasting your money. If you're getting relief from it, then you continue. But in terms of a case, you always want, at least if you're treating with a chiropractor, you want to establish with an MD or a DO as a second opinion kind of thing, to back up the opinion of the chiropractor, in my opinion.
We've got about 3 minutes left, Lauren. I want to ask you a question
Sure.
because we are inundated when it comes to personal injury. We are inundated by commercials, whether it's um, billboards or television spots, and it makes it really hard for a person to make a decision.
Sure.
Tell people why they should come to you and retain your services.
Well, personal injury is all Angela and I do, and it's all we've done for combined, gosh, I think it's over 50 years now, if not 50, near at 50. Um, we love what we do, and we're very dedicated to our clients. You will always meet with a lawyer. You will not meet with a paralegal. You will not meet with a case manager. You will not meet with an investigator. You will not meet with a legal assistant or a receptionist. If you hire us, you will meet with us. You hire an attorney, you should have a right to meet with your attorney and be kept informed by your attorney. That's not to say that the paralegal isn't available to you for a quick question or something that they can handle. But if you want to speak with us, you get to speak with us. We care about what we do, and we have good results because we don't fool around. We litigate our own cases. We don't farm them out to bigger firms, and the insurance companies know that. And I can say from experience, Steve, that typically we can get more money than a mill will get on cases. We've had cases where people have had other attorneys and they fired those attorneys and they came to us and we spoke with the adjuster, and boom, we got it settled for significantly more money than the final offer that was given to the prior attorneys.
Well, I got to tell you, you are so knowledgeable, you and Angela both, and we are so blessed to have you as our experts in personal injury. I cannot thank you enough. Give people your phone number and your website address.
Sure. 727-937-3171. Website www.zervosinjurylaw.com. And Steve, if your fiance has any questions, you have my cell, you have my office, feel free.
And you are available on weekends as well, right?
Yes, we are available every day of the week.
Lauren, thank you so much. Tell Angela Happy New Year for us.
I will.
And you'll be back with us in a couple of weeks with more Ask the Experts. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you, Steve. Have a good week.
You too. I love these girls, these women, and they are so good at what they do. If you are injured, and it doesn't just have to be an auto accident, it could be a slip and fall, give them a call, 727-937-3171. That's it for us today. We'll be back with you again next Monday with more Ask the Experts. Take care. Thank you, Rebel.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.